And we're back with our next episode of KWAP Reels. Real life, real stories, real people. We're your co-hosts. I'm Amanda Trahan.
And I'm Joe Newton.
And today we have the honor of being here with Winnie Rogers, your South Carolina agent.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Winnie. We're really excited to have you here today. Winnie, I've had the opportunity to see several of your classes, whether it's building a team within a team, talking about profit share, or your brand new branding series that you've worked with. Winnie, you have completely captivated our audiences, and we're so excited to have you here. So tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, I'm an agent in Charleston, South Carolina, in addition to being the Director of Growth for KW in Greater Charleston.
Wonderful.
I'm also a KWU certified instructor, and just a whole host of other things as a multi-dimensional paradoxical human.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're also really involved in Keller Williams Young Professionals, so you kind of do it all.
Yeah, all sorts of things. I have a few hats.
Yeah,
I like it that way.
Yeah, we love that.
And we've super enjoyed the class we just got to experience. Now, it's a new class, branding series. How did that come about?
So, really, I was noticing that a lot of agents were coming to me asking questions about marketing, like, Winnie, what do you do? Things like that, and my branding. So my background is, before real estate, I was in graphic design and marketing. I actually worked at a publishing company, and I was the in-house graphic designer and digital marketing specialist. So a lot of people have said, Winnie, I love your marketing, but it's not me. And I'm like, okay, great. And then when I think about the pet peeves that I have when I look at other people's marketing, because that's important sometimes to know, is I noticed that a lot of their marketing was just inconsistent and maybe it didn't feel like them. So they were maybe putting out what they thought that their audience wanted to see. So I decided to create a class about really diving deep into who you are and your branding. And then also I'm a high systems person. So then creating the system so that you can be consistent with putting that out to your audience and to your market so that it's sustainable, crisp, all that kind of stuff.
And that's one of your statements about systems create sustainability.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
that was a huge thought in the first day. Now, we finished the class. We just finished it, in fact. We came from the floor right into the studio.
Coming in hot.
Yes, we are. And I have to say, it was a great class. Yeah. The response was super by our folks. So if anyone's trying to have a branding series, this is the one to have. You need to get in touch with Winnie and have her come in. But I think what really got me putting the 2 days together was you have this idea of taking this person and putting them in digital form. Now, Rory Vaden talks about, you're digitizing your reputation. But what I got from you is you're really digitizing your being, the whole person.
It's way deeper.
It's way deeper.
Yeah.
So kind of break that out for us a little bit. Why is that? Do you think that's so significant in branding?
I think it's significant in life, and that is also what leads to the sustainability. So I went to a retreat one time, and they mentioned that what peace was. And what peace is when your actions align with your words, and your words align with your thoughts, and then your thoughts align with your heart, and then your heart aligns with your gut. So a lot of the times we focus on our outward appearances, what we're putting out in the world, reputation, things like that. And what I'm offering is actually, if you go even deeper in alignment, then that's actually more sustainable and you don't have to think about it as much. Yeah. So it does create that sustainability, but really it creates that consistency once again. Because like I said, consistency is the biggest thing that I see that agents are not.
Yeah.
Surprise.
With their marketing. Yeah. Yeah. So they're just throwing spaghetti at the wall all the time. And they're like, well, I wonder why it's not working. And I'm like, well, you're not building trust with consistency, because consistency, reliability, dependability is one of the elements of trust. So it's not going to happen that way.
Well, after the first day, you and I got to go to the whiteboard and just
we
just went all the way down to this thing. But what was cool about that is living from the inside out, rather than trying to have a persona that you're creating that's not really who you are. You're really going, okay, who am I? What colors represent me, and what do I do? What's my passions? How do I create, and my expertise, and where are my areas? So I just thought that part of it was kind of, not to overstate it, kind of genius level, that you're thinking, I can do this from the inside. This is who I am. I'm put in digital form. When they meet me, they got me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so how do you think that helps build a business? What's the return on that investment?
Well, I think there's this phrase of, fake it till you make it. And I think that there's part of that, depending on how you take that, that's true. You want to step outside of your comfort zone, things like that. But what I found to be true is the more we're just faking or like should, it like if your body says, oh, okay, well, I should do something, or my parents think I should, or my partner thinks I should, or my coach thinks I should, then that's probably not sustainable. So what happens is we can do anything even that we don't like, even that's outside of our values, even that's outside of our passions for a period of time. But then what happens is it's burnout. And then we think, oh, well, it's my career. I don't like my career. No. Or it's my partner. I don't like my partner. No. I mean, maybe, but sometimes what it is that you're living outside of yourself and you're trying to fake it till you make it instead of like going back in and that like return to you. And then I don't remember the second half of your question.
I wonder if I remember.
I don't know. So, how does that help in business? Great. Yes. Okay, great. So I think one of the things is it creates consistency throughout. So for instance, like when your audio doesn't match your video, right? So if all of my Instagram says that I'm super fun and exciting and, I love mountain biking and stuff like that, which I don't like my mountain biking. I shouldn't know that. I'm like, that sounds neat, but like I'm a little bit too scared, but I will bungee jump. Okay. So anyhow, that's an aside. But if all of my stuff says one thing and then you meet me and I'm super just like sluggish and, or like overly professional or uptight, like where's the disconnect there?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. So in terms of like building your business, like it's easier to actually just be yourself. But sometimes we are taught as a society, there's so much pressure to like be other people. So you have to then do the work. You have to schedule, you have to time block for self-discovery to understand who you are. And then, so it's more sustainable for your business. But also, whenever you're living in your joy zone, you radiate at a higher frequency. You are more magnetic. Have you ever, I got like goosebumps just like thinking about it. If you ever just felt like the most cool, beautiful, personable, you are just like lit on fire and people just start to like notice you or things just start coming your way. I said to my friend one time, Mike French, when I was in Savannah at a KWYP event, I said, the weirder I am, the more money I make. It's not about the weirder I am, and it's not really about the more money I make. What I mean is the more authentic I am, the more people are magnetized to me. Yeah. So that has grown my business because whenever you are completely authentically yourself, then you are empowering other people to show up as themselves. And honestly, then they can take that freaking mask down and just like relax and be, and you can actually learn a lot more about people.
Absolutely.
I get on soapboxes about that. It's exciting.
No, that's good.
Yeah, no, it's so important. I think often we take a look at branding and marketing as just an aside. It's like an additional piece to our business, but really what you teach is a full approach. This is your business.
Embodied.
Yeah,
that's
fully embodies
was my
you.
word of the year.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like we really were able to see that and then see the full thing come to completion. So I didn't get the opportunity to sit through yesterday. However, I went home last night. Your slides are so informative, and just walking through my brand, I thought I was a totally different person until I finished your class today.
Really? Okay, fun. I love that.
Yeah,
how exciting.
I just realized that the colors I was choosing didn't actually represent who I was. And it was just cool to kind of see that full mood board come together and be like, this is actually who I am, not only as a person, but as a business leader.
Yeah. So whenever I look at my brand graphics, and I have more than one brand, so that's like kind of nice because you get to have a couple of those things because we are multidimensional, right? So, but whenever I look at my brand, I'm like, that's so me. And then whenever like literally with my clients, maybe they saw me first on social media, maybe they saw a flyer first, or maybe they met me in life first, like in real life first. But either way, they can totally be like, before I even tell them that I like rock and roll, they're going to know that before they even, before I even tell them about how many books I've read, or what books I like to read, they kind of have an idea. Yeah. And so what that does is that affirms them and builds trust in them. So it's great.
So in building this class, let's talk a little bit about how Keller Williams has helped you bring all of this together.
Okay, so it's a bit of a journey, but I will say like one of my favorite things about Keller Williams is that it creates an environment where you can double down on you and it gives you a platform to showcase it. Right. So when I first got started into real estate, I didn't know any agents. I was new in the business. And so I joined Keller Williams Young Professionals because I knew that some of the people that were in that organization were some of the top producers in my market. And I was like, I should probably learn from them. I'm coming from a totally different background. Like we're all coming from, unique skills and abilities. So like everybody's bringing something cool to the table. But I was like, all right, I want to learn from them. And then what I found was like going into that, the more you do a good job at the thing that you're doing. So for instance, I was part of the board, our local board for KWYP Low Country in Charleston. And I started to get other opportunities because you start to get noticed. And we do events. So I started to travel to events. And once again, my brand matches, right? Yeah. So they know like, oh, it's Winnie. That's the girl that does blank. So then I started to, and I have a great leadership team, I will say. They are incredible. I love them deeply in my soul. And so they recognize like the unique skills and abilities that each of us have on our leadership team. So I was able to start teaching. I wanted to be a teacher since I was 4. But I never became an actual teacher, like like a school teacher. But I knew this was going to like be part of me. So I started to teach classes. Then I started to realize that there was a pathway through KWU and master faculty and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay. So I also wrote my own curriculum because I'm a high systems person, which I learned through my DISC assessment and through my KPA, my Keller personality assessment, like where my skills are and where my unique gifts, strengths, and abilities are, and then of course my passions. Yeah. So then just like doubling down on those was able to teach. And so anyhow, so that led me to creating curriculum because I want to teach the things that I care about, and I believe I have a knack for systems and teaching that to people too.
Yeah.
So
it was very evident in your class today. I feel like so much of it was systems-based when one of the hardest things for entrepreneurs to put together is those systems. So for that to be your baseline, you're already starting at a great spot.
Listen, we're great at winging it.
Yes,
as
absolutely.
Agents. Like most of us, like that's why there's the E to P is one of the 6-person perspectives. Like we are great at winging it. But the more, once again, if you double down on knowing your values, the more you double down on knowing your skills, strengths, and your passion, your skills, strengths, and passions. Like the more you double down on that, the more you can, you can 10x those whenever you have an opportunity to do that.
You know, you mentioned E to P. What is that? What is E to P?
So E to P is one of the 6 personal perspectives. It's one of my personal favorites.
Yep.
And that's from moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful. Ooh. So it's about like all of us have gifts, natural gifts, strengths. And what happens is we just rest on those sometimes. And we're just like, I'm a great presenter, so I'm just going to wing it. Or I'm good at people, so I'm just going to run with it. Having said that, you have to move from this ceiling of achievement, your natural ceiling of achievement, and break through your comfort zone with accountability, with systems, systems, tools, and people in order to break through to be purposeful. And then you can be so much more far better focused when you're purposeful, and intentional is the word that I like to use too to describe that.
It's almost like you teach that class.
I do. I love that class. I am super passionate about that class. That is one of my absolute favorite classes.
Yeah, it absolutely shines through.
Something else that jumped out to me, and you even mentioned it here, like you said, people are going to know you like rock and roll before they ever meet you. One of the things I think agents sometimes make the mistake of is trying to be too broad.
Totally.
Yes.
Like, I got to relate to everybody.
It's probably my second peeve.
Yeah, so by, hey, this is who I am, there's enough people who like who you are to bring you a business that you can enjoy and love, but also bring you into relationships that are kind of kindred spirits, which makes the work easier, don't you think?
Yeah, I absolutely do. So fun fact, I've actually officiated 2 of my clients' weddings, and neither of which I knew before real estate.
Nice.
So
That's
I feel like that just
awesome.
like, boom, like says it, but...
And we have that. We have that in common. I've done a few weddings.
Yeah.
Wait, no one's asking you to do weddings. Where am I messing up?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But no,
What was
just
the question about?
just the idea of not worrying about. So if there's a million
Being
people
one
in
for everyone.
Jacksonville, you're not worried about a million people. You're worried about a group that you can interact with and interface with that are going to understand who you are and like that, and actually. That's a point of attraction that then leads to real estate. It doesn't start with the real estate. It starts with the identity.
The being.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to alienate my audience. I want to have a really broad audience. And I guess my challenge to people is by you saying that you like gardening, you know, if that's one of your like really big passions in life, are you really alienating your audience? And I think sometimes we overthink it and think that by doubling down on who we are. Now, listen, I'm not saying if you want to have very controversial opinions that is necessarily a good idea.
Right.
If you do, however, do that in a private group because there are places for that. But for the most part, like my thing is like when you double down on who you actually are, you can actually attract a whole new audience into it. Versus when you're kind of like trying to be one to many, you kind of water down your message. And you need to have a unique point of view, a unique perspective, because people don't necessarily want that watered down. They don't want vanilla. And sometimes they don't want the person that is one for everybody. They want a weird redheaded girl from Charleston.
Absolutely.
That's what they want.
Yeah.
Well, dig a little bit deeper on this point, because you just said watered down. I love what pictured in my mind is you're trying to paint a brilliant color and you just water it down and it becomes almost whitewash. It just kind of just fades away. Don't be afraid to be who you are.
Yeah.
And that's really the message, that is going to bring people to you, not push people away in the majority of cases.
Yeah, that once again like helps bring your frequency higher, right? Whenever you're doing and showcasing to the world like your natural gifts, strengths, values, and passions and stuff. So those people, what's going to happen is you're magnetizing more people into your world because you are living your best life. Like, have you ever been around somebody that's just like, woe is me, like that Eeyore vibe, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but if you've been around someone that's confident, you're just like naturally attracted to them. And usually they're confident. Now, sometimes it's fake, so I get that. But sometimes they're confident because they're embodied and they are like being who they are. But whenever, I don't know, it's just like whenever you're a watered down version, just like what I said, that's also moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful too, is like when you double down on those things, you're just going to find your audience. You're going to find your tribe.
Brittany Hodak talked a lot about at Mega Camp creating super fans. And the way that we do that is when we feel like the audience feels like we're speaking directly to them. And we don't have the ability to do that if we are not really secure in who we are and the message that we're sending out. So that totally makes sense.
Or just defining your voice. I think that's one of the things is like a lot of people just in general just don't take the time to know themselves. They're just go future, and it's more that inside out kind of thing. But like you need to go back in and understand like what is my voice, and not because it should be something, but what is it truly in this moment and what like feels right. So checking in like, you know, with your body and your mind and your feedback from coaches and things like that.
So and we could go on and on with some of these things for quite a while, and we know you're on a time schedule, so we want to honor that. But I want to give a couple of things away to the folks that will listen to this. And one of the when you first started talking yesterday, I wrote down content pillars. And then you went on and did some other stuff, and I've got this blank on my page, and I'm going, she better come back to this because I want to know about content pillars. What are those things? So tell our folks, what are content pillars?
So your content marketing system is made of your platforms and pillars, and then your calls to actions and your goals. So your content marketing is basically how are you putting your value out to your audience to then get whatever your desired result is. So with your platforms, that would be, you know, social media, blogs, newsletters, door knocking, whatever your platform is. But your pillars are really the messages that you're putting out there. So your pillars can be related to your business. Your pillars can be related to your passions. Your pillars can be related to what inspires you or your value system. And so what I usually recommend is just narrowing down, and I mean, marketers in general recommend this. So narrowing down your pillars so that you aren't being one to everyone, that you're narrowing down your voice to, you know, say 5 or 6 specific pillars. And then you never have to think about what to post because you have 6 pillars to choose from, you know, or whatever it is. And you never have to be outside of your value system because you've already chosen pillars that align with who you are if you've done the work.
And one of those could be your business, but the others are going to be something not necessarily related to the business, so you're bringing that whole person to it as well.
Yes, So one of my platforms or one of my pillars is growth, and I like to read books, and I like yoga, and I'm like starting meditation and breath work, and like just this growth and forward thinking things. And believe it or not, that has brought so many people to me just by me actually talking about it. And I don't talk about it a ton. It's just like probably twice a month I share that in my content marketing strategy. And
the brilliance behind that too is when I talk to new agents coming in and they don't have a big sphere of influence, I'm like, what do you like to do?
Totally.
Tell me something. Like, find an affinity group because they're as strong as families. It's crazy how tightly bound those affinity groups are, but it's also something you enjoy.
Exactly.
Don't go do something you don't really like, but let it be an expression of you. And I thought that I resonated with that a lot. So I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier, that by building these things, it really helps save us time.
Yeah.
energy, which is a big part of real estate, right?
Huge.
Burnout comes so quickly because we
It's
just,
real.
yeah, we just don't take the time to identify these things, and we keep running 7 days a week, 24 hours, and we just kind of figure it should come together at some point. But really what you're saying is there's a easy to follow system and process here that will actually attract the customers you want to work with, rather than feeding off of someone else's waste, is what we heard actually by Phil Jones. Okay,
yeah, got it.
But that's what it is, right? When we're not going out to find our ideal customer, we're just having whatever kind of falls to the wayside come to us, which sometimes leads to not working with the best people, not converting at a high level because it's not our desired avatar.
Yeah. And not to bring it to another perspective, but there's also the 80-20 rule.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so if you create that focus with your pillars, which is essentially what that is, creating the focus, you can have like 30 hobbies, I guess you could, but really there's going to be a couple that are going to rise to the top, right? So if you're able to do that, then it creates the systems, which helps that sustainability, and then it's targeted.
Yeah.
It's targeted.
So let me ask you this. I'm an agent who is looking to expand my brand. Where do I start?
Oh, great question.
I know it's...
Take my class.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Would
Rule number one,
probably-
check.
Or rule number one, take your class. I would just get curious about what you do now. I always think about like, how do you make friends now? How do you connect with people now? What are you naturally attracted to now? Just like think about what is organic, and then make sure that you know the difference between what is organic and what is a should. Like what
Okay.
you think you should do as a real estate agent. That's a big mistake. Is like what you should. There are systems and processes and
Right.
things like that. But I would say start with that, and then book a consultation with me, and I can help
love
you
that.
with your branding.
No,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, if you already have someone who's a master at it, why not
Yeah.
just go to them?
And I'll give you opinions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So when someone takes your class, what are they walking away with?
So they're walking away with really what they're going to identify. First of all, there's their values, their strengths. So like a full brand vibe.
Got it.
They're going to know what their brand vibe is. It's going to feel like them, look like them. And then we go through the platforms and pillars. So you're going to identify, narrow down the platforms that you even care to put your effort into.
Wait, I don't have to use every platform when I'm running a real estate
dear
business?
goodness, please don't do that. And so once again, sustainable, and you
Right.
want focus. What you focus on, expand. So let's double down on the things that you can actually see yourself doing. If you're somebody that likes to write, let's blog. If you're
Yeah.
somebody that loves to see yourself on video, let's go YouTube. Whatever it might be. If you're chatty people, do a podcast. Let's
Yeah.
go. And then you'll identify your pillars, like what are your actual topics that you talk about. And then after that, so by the end of it all together, then we put together systems and goals so that you have some sustainability, that you know what to track. But by the end, you leave with a weekly content calendar and a monthly content calendar that feels like you, looks like you, walks like you, talks like you.
It makes our jobs a lot easier, right?
Yeah, it's easier to do because
Yeah.
it's so natural. One of the things that just popped in my head when you were talking was the mistake we make bringing new agents in is, we got systems we need to teach them, things they need to know how to
course.
do, but don't pigeonhole them. Let them figure some of this stuff out as they develop their brand from the beginning versus having to get 2 years in struggling and
burn
then,
out,
and
or
burned
they
out.
fail,
Yeah.
and then they think that it's
Yeah.
them, and it may be because this is more difficult job than a lot of people think it is, but it might not be them. It might just be that they're misaligned someplace, and so I just recommend that. When you're getting into real estate, read page 138 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Identify 1 to 2 things on the left-hand side that are already natural to you in terms of how you build relationships.
Yeah.
So if it's through, your church or a group or fitness, or, that you just love talking to strangers or open houses, something like that, just identify 1 or 2 and get so good at that, and then go from there.
So for me, just going through this 2 days, and it was 2 hours, 2 days to change everything. You can use that if you like. That was pretty good.
Really?
Write that down.
I'm like, does it need to be 5 hours? No, I don't want it to be. Okay.
No, it was great because there was a couple of things that came out of it. Number one, I was like, oh, I got that right.
Yeah.
And then there was, oh, I got that wrong.
Okay.
And I need to build on that. And so I think that's the value base. So that's why I think we can come on here and go, guys, if you're interested in branding,
Right.
get in touch with Winnie. So how would they get a hold of you?
So they can go to my website, winnierogers.com. There's booking links on there. So you can book a consultation with me, a 30-minute, just to see like if this class could be a good fit. And then you can see other classes that I teach. And then also, I would say follow me on social media. See if you like it. This is the deal. I'm not for everyone, and that's okay. But the deal is that does it look like me, feel like you, or feel like me? Yes. And then understand that I can help something look like you and feel like you.
Yeah, I can't imagine that you wouldn't be for them.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that works
There's
out.
a couple people that I'm not their cup of tea, let me tell you. But I try to keep it few and far between, but it's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, there's awesome. Well, Winnie, thank you so much for being with us and
you.
being here for the couple of days. And we just appreciate it so much.
And I'm sure we'll have you back, Winnie.
Awesome. I would love to be back.
We love that. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.